Actually, I've had two visions in my life. One, when we were dating, I came home from work, and I would sit and watch. At that time, there was Tammy Faye Baker, and my mother had it on, so I just we would watch whatever was on there. But I'd be doing something else, doing my nails or whatever. And I must have fell asleep. I don't know if I actually fell. I don't think I was asleep. I didn't. I don't really don't. I saw him. I knew I was going to marry him in that vision. I knew he was the one. So I knew that. And one night I came home, and my mother, she got up and she said, "Tell me what's going on between you two, and how serious are you?" And I said, "Well, look, Mom, I'm just going to tell you like this. If he asks me to marry, I'm going to say yes." So when I actually got the ring, he said, "What you doing lunch?" And I had just got me 2 hot dogs and getting ready to bite into a hot dog. And he said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm eating lunch." He said, "Well, you come and go with me somewhere." And I said, "Okay." So that's food. And we went to Newell's. He told me to pick out the ring.
Now, I'm tight with $1.
I didn't realize
And
that.
we go into the jewelry store. And I said, "Pick you out a ring."
And then I'm thinking, I don't want to pick the most expensive. Because I didn't know. So, but I did. I picked that ring, and I teased him later. If I know what I know now, I got the biggest thing in the store. But anyway, and that's anyway. So that's how that went as far as ring. But then my other vision I saw him in the pulpit before he was called. So I wasn't surprised when he got called. I actually saw it even before I had that vision. I had that, felt it early in our marriage, that possibly would come. And so I saw that in him in the pulpit. So when he actually told me, and he didn't, well, I don't know if he wants me to tell that about. I asked him how he knew, and he said God kept telling him to feed my sheep. And so that's what he expressed to me. And I told him, that I wasn't surprised that I had seen that in that vision I think I had. And so if that's what he wanted, and he asked me to, to be with him in this, to come walk with him through this journey. And I said, well, that's what we want to do, because I hadn't envisioned ever being a pastor's wife. I mean, that was definitely not it. I didn't think it was in my future. But I wasn't surprised of his experience. I could see some signs of it, because he was reading his Bible, he was teaching Sunday school, and just the type of person he is. I knew he was headed that way, I guess.
Well, it started with me starting to go back to church and attending the Sunday school. And A.W. Jones was the deacon at First Baptist, and he was the Sunday school teacher. So we go there, and you just get into it, and start discussing the lesson. So I don't know how long or what he saw, but he said, teach the lesson next week. I want you to teach the lesson. So from then on, he just let me teach the lesson. And that's when, I started teaching the lesson, and went, and after that, soon told the pastor. I told you that he wanted me to be a deacon, but I felt that wasn't what the Lord was calling me for. Mm-hmm. So I told him then, I think he's calling me to preach. So he gave me some verses of scripture to study. He said, study these scriptures and see if they speak to you. And they did, and we hadn't turned back from it, Sometimes I wonder how my life would have been different if I hadn't gone back, because young people, they drift away, and in a church, you'll find that you raise them up the scripture tells us to raise them up the way they should go. And when they're old, So I remember back in the day when we were little and we had vacation Bible school and, Sunday school and all of this. And my parents made sure we were there, And so when I got up to around 16, 17, 18 years old, now, sort of wander off. But then you started going back, because there's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And that filled that void being there, And then I think about how, having worked at TGNY, I graduated from high school, but I wanted to go to school. So instead of going to a 4-year school and staying in a dorm, I drove back and forth to Durham, to NCCU, 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I often laugh, I only went to one basketball game in those 4 years. After I got off work at 9 o'clock at TGNY, I drove to Durham, and the auditorium was packed. They had closed the front doors, but I saw people going around to the back of the building. So I said, well, maybe they're getting in. So sure enough, somebody had propped the door open, and there were so many people in there, I didn't recognize anybody that I knew. Because being an off-campus student, you have just a few people you know. So I get back in my car and drive back home, and fell asleep. This was before Roxborough Road was 4 lanes. It was a 2-lane highway. I'm driving home and asleep. And when I wake up, the rear lights on another car, they must have tapped their brakes. And it woke me up. And I just went around them, past them, and got home. So I said, the Lord's been with me a long time.